basic study on addiction prevention program according to risk factor and crisis leveling adolescent. Nam-Sook Kim, Mina E. Introduction. Adolescents use the mixture of adolescence and adolescence, but there is a clear conceptual difference. Adolescence is the beginning of a physical um, development into adult by having biological reproductive capacity. This um, physical maturity is completed around the age of the 80, and adolescents are potentially or intentionally of themselves as adults from this time on. But society doesn't recognize adolescence as an adult right after in over. Adolescence is a time when appropriate intervention is needed because it is bound to physiological, emotional, and behavioral problems due to individual and environmental factors. If the youth program persists in the long term, and it can cause problems at the national and the social level. So there was a period approach in um, needed to identify and prevent these use programs in advance. The frequency of the smartphone use the pairing deeply into the center of our life without our knowledge. Addition includes categories of the impulse control disorder and substance use disorder in the medical terms. In other words, the condition in which it is difficult to control on the impulse to the particular target along with a substance use disorder is the called addiction. A study of the youth smartphone addiction and depression showed that smartphone addiction directly affects suicidal thought and has under adverse impact on self-habit or behavior control. In other words, smartphone addiction is the demanding fundamental of the smartphone addiction prevention programs. The basic of the smartphone addiction prevention programs and the NB summarized the based on data from peer research. First, self-control, impulsivity, and aggression control are needed among students to prevent smartphone addiction among teenagers. In addition, the need for smartphone recognition and the smartphone replacement activities should be recognized as a way to understand and control the characteristic of the smartphone themselves. This suggests that is a importance of the smartphone use to choose and act a right way to use them by improving their them self-management skills. The goal of smartphone edition prevention program is as follows. First, in the correctly established awareness of smartphone by looking at the smartphone functional and pros and cons and problems caused by the excessive use the smartphone and the side effect uh, after overuse of the smartphone. Second, I improve self-control by learning and practicing how to resist in the temptation of the behavior use of the smartphone and how to control smartphone use. So we try to maintain friendship and to the brain exciting and fun activities interest of the uh, releasing on smartphones in stressful situations. In the first session, while looking for ways to live without relying on the smartphones during school and daily life, we think about alternatives such as using diaries, schedules, and notebook notes. The fifth session explores and disclose the alternative activities for using smartphone and seek ways to maintain friendship without smartphones and the appreciate communication without smartphones. And the sixth session is about handy can lose from smartphone addiction, playing activities that can replace smartphone use and surely uh, specifically use brains and more useful. In the seventh session, we recognize various stress and talk with friends about how to solve stress and exchange information with each other to finding out specific measures. The 18th session experienced the uh, negative element of the smartphones. In particular, we experience and fully control measures for impulsivity and aggression while learning how to use smartphones properly. The 90 session explores and important of the precious time and make a timetable for using smartphone and development practical method. research method, risk factors. Some factors for measuring risk factor of the individual, family, school, community, and the few areas. Individual areas were classified as depression, anxiety, aggression, impulsivity, and carelessness. Family areas were classified as parents' conflict, neglect, dysfunctional family numbers. School areas, community, harmful environment, and peer areas in the fighting friends. The total number of the questions. Data analysis. The youth crisis survey of the students issued the content of the survey results conducted at the Youth Counseling and Welfare Center for the purpose of this study. Frequency analysis was conducted and used to identify the general characteristic of J group adolescents as a result of the information, the protection factors, risk factor, and counseling awareness were identified, and the reliability of the each factor was calculated. We also conducted of the group by group average analysis according to the general characteristic of the gender and school type. In the gambling domain, all questions through the statistically significance difficult at the significance level of 5%. Elementary schools show the relatively high experience rate in all the question except for the question I have been possibly deprived of the money of the good by my friend or senior over the past year, and showed the statistically significance difference in all questions at the significance level of 5%. Complex with others to the smartphones. The result of the ratio response by the characteristic of the smartphone addiction crisis result. I have course servers compete with other due to the use to smartphones over the past 2 months as it follows. Overall, the risk factors then have the biggest relation to the crisis result was the aggression, the impulsivity, carelessness, depression, and anxiety complex with delinquents, friends, parents, and the environmental factors harmful to the community. Research results. The result of the study are the follows. This can be seen as reflecting the tendency of the male and teenager to externalize their behavior, according to May document relate to the blighting is the consistently report than external blighting program such as the violence as common in the male teenagers. In the case of the suicides, female teenagers were higher than male teenagers. Suggestion based on the results of the fact finding survey on the juvenile crisis in the discussion. The following policy suggestion shall be made. First, in the necessary to cooperate with the regional link and establish and establish the linkage system between related agencies, as shown in the survey results of the youth conditions. The programs factors by the teenager are diverse and complex. Youth-related issues are related to several classes, including the Ministry of the Gender Equality and Family, the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of the Health and Welfare, the Ministry of the Justice, the Ministry of the Science, ICT, and the National Policy Agency. This is because such diverse and complex problems are difficult with the effort of any single organization. According to the result of the survey, female teenagers had a higher percentage of the internet and smartphone addiction and suicide problem than male teenager, while male teenager had a higher percentage of the online gamble and school violence problems. In the case of the crisis result by school level, many programs such as during programs, gamble and flight programs showed the higher proportion of the high schools, while middle schools showed the higher proportion to middle school than other school levels. The number of the out-of-school teenagers is the rise every year due to the subvention of study. To this end, the law on out-of-school youth support towards the enacted and the establishment of the out-of-school youth support center seem to be moving in the good direction. However, to the current the number of out-of-school adolescents those that trust the validity of the result to use qualitative the survey method. Therefore, in order to accurately identify out-of-school teenagers and provide systemic and professional support, it seems necessary to survey and research qualitative research method of the out-of-school youth support. However, therefore, all the thank you.